Good evening. Welcome to Eat Art Space, the virtual pop-up dining room gallery from my little home in Appalachia. Tonight's exhibit is featuring Richard Graves, who just joined us. I am so excited to talk with him about his work and also to talk a little bit about our local food feature, Franny's Vegan Cafe, where I just ate lunch and I have some stuff to show you tonight. I'm going to make Richard get in the hot seat here in just a minute, if I can. I'm going to wave at him. And let's see if I can get him in here so that we can talk with him about his work. Okay, hopefully we'll have Richard on here in a minute. I'm in a room surrounded by all of his glitch-inspired artwork. And he can tell us a little bit about his background. And let's see. What else do we need to know? Most all of these are original works. You can buy them at eatart.space/purchase for the next week. Please take them home. They are amazing. And thank you for being here, Richard. It's so great to have you.
Yeah, thank you.
And look, you've got all these fans here. Thank you everybody for showing up and saying hello. Tell us a little bit about your background and maybe some of the specifics. You can tell me which pieces you might want to talk about, and I can lead everybody around the gallery and take them on a tour as you talk. But first, tell us a little bit about who you are and where your art comes from.
Yeah, thank you so much. This is a huge honor to be here. The folks that have shown at Eat Art Space before and the ones that are coming up are some of my favorite artists. So this is just a huge honor, and I've been looking forward to talking with you for months. My name's Richard Graves. For those of you that don't know me, I'm from Abingdon, Virginia, and I'm an artist, a journalist, and a capacity builder. And my elevator pitch for my art is I like to illustrate the ghosts of things that haunt us. So this is a collection that's kind of been in the works for a long time, and it was really helpful to me to kind of narrow down into a theme of reality distortion and really be inspired by glitch art for this particular series that seemed pretty relevant to the world we lived in today, and was something that I wanted to touch on with my work.
Can you talk a little bit about your background in broadcast journalism and how that informed, or maybe it does or does not inform some of your thinking about specifically glitch art? Oh, maybe we need to back up a little bit and explain to some people what glitch art actually is. Would you like to?
That would be a great lead in to
Okay.
the journalism side of things.
Okay.
So glitch art, and I'll do my best to explain this as concisely as possible, but I find it really interesting. But glitch art is kind of the process of using digital manipulation and mistakes and corrupted files, these little like glitches in kind of electronic images, and kind of using that as an aesthetic. And there's essentially two kinds of glitch art. There's the filters that you put on, and it's kind of an aesthetic to intentionally corrupt a file and to create glitches that will kind of tell a story you want to tell. And there are the folks, it's one of those things, the more you learn about it, the more there is to learn. The folks that really understand the theory and do it on another level kind of write their own code to be able to create those glitches instead of doing a filter or doing something more aesthetic. They're taking the kinds of ones and zeros and writing code to manipulate that. So almost all glitch art is digital. And what I did for this show was create a whole bunch of glitch art and then use that as reference for analog painting and drawing. So there's none of the actual glitch art here on the walls, but I use that as the kind of the influence for the pieces that folks are seeing in the show this evening.
So if I may, I think one of the pieces in particular seems to, because I'm a little bit familiar with glitch art, and so there's one that sticks out to me, and I'm going to flip around the gallery here and take everyone on a woozy little tour over to the piece. I think, can you remind me of the title of this one?
Audacity, and
Audacity.
that's a great one to kind of illustrate this point, because that was Audacity is an audio editing program, an audio editing software program. So I use the title Audacity as kind of a nod to what my process was. First and foremost, my background in journalism kind of has given me the experience to realize the importance of telling people stories, of telling my own stories, to tell the stories of the region of Appalachia. So the journalism is important because of that aspect of the importance of stories. But I also spent a lot of time manipulating audio files with programs like Audacity, and it was kind of mind-blowing to me when you get a digital image. I'm oversimplifying this, but it's essentially like ones and zeros.
Mm-hmm.
So if you put that into an audio software program like Audacity, Audacity is not intended to manipulate images. It's intended to manipulate audio files. But if you get a file into the ones and zeros of a software program and you add echoes or reverberation or delete sections of that code, all of those processes that you would run an audio file through, I was finding ways to do and learning just enough so that I could be inspired by it.
Mm-hmm.
Taking programs like Audacity and manipulating visual images. And because I'm doing it on like that ones and zeros level, a lot of times I don't know what the image is going to look like until I'm finished. So it
So
takes a lot.
I don't want to stop you too much, but I have a question about that specific piece then. Did you intentionally, because I didn't realize that it was about the audio program that I'm familiar with, actually.
Yeah.
I've just started digging into it a little bit. But were you attracted to a double meaning there? Because I did not read it as a software program title at first.
A
Did
little
you
bit.
anticipate that? I'm curious to know.
A little bit. I think that Audacity really spoke to kind of the figure that I was trying to depict and represent in the piece. Like I wanted it to be very much about the essence of that person, even though it's all distorted with the reverb and the echo, in the original glitch art that I did and used
Mm-hmm.
as reference for the piece. So yeah, very often that kind of glitch art will be both kind of the aesthetic, but also a way to use that aesthetic to communicate what I'm trying to say. Like I just think glitch art resonates with me and a lot of people, particularly now, where those glitches can represent so many different things in our society. Really early glitch art was heavily connected with feminist theory. Those glitches can represent a pandemic. It can represent anxieties. It can represent the injustices in the world, the trauma that we all feel as individuals.
So for the pieces that you have curated into this space, can you tell us a little bit about, I mean, would it be helpful to take you around and you could talk about how this applies to specific pieces? Is there one that maybe you especially want to talk about?
Yeah, absolutely. We could pick, I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head, but maybe like that
I can just
long,
take a
long to
tour.
Live is one of my favorite ones
Okay,
in the
let's flip
show.
around here.
Bring on over to that one.
So this is the dining room gallery, everybody. We've got here's my finger. We've got three of the original oil paintings over here on the corner. We're going to make our way over to the piece that Richard is talking about, which is called Long to Live. These are super shiny, though I have to get up close to them because they're shiny and gorgeous. Everything else is shiny and gorgeous too, and matted and presented so beautifully. So here is Long to Live. This is original watercolor on paper, correct?
Yeah,
And
yes.
yes, this is beautiful. A sort of semi-monochromatic take on a facial portrait. And take it away, Richard.
And I really liked this one because it's, I think, can be left very ambiguously for the viewer. I think a lot of people relate to the figure, those glitches, and in addition to kind of representing the things about our society that don't feel right or feel wrong. Also, those glitches to me kind of represent the internal struggle of a lot of my figures, and that was one that was felt very much like a figure that was fractured and looking out into a world while also having its own kind of essence corrupted in a way where it's has a lot of double exposure, and the face is laying on top of itself and in different ways. I feel like in a pandemic, we for me, I look at this and it has a lot of personal meaning to how scattered I felt, how disorienting this world that we live in can feel sometimes.
That's beautiful.
Almost all of my pieces are connected to songs because that's really important to me as my background with a broadcast journalist. So if anyone's interested in a song that the title comes from, it's The Clientele, Reflections After Jane, and I had another piece named after the title of the song, the same song,
Yes.
that ink piece, and I had a lot of repeating kind of imagery of self-reflection of people looking at their own reflection, but it being a little bit off too, where there was an incongruence.
Can I ask you about that self-reflection as it relates to this one?
Yeah,
The
absolutely.
acceptance. I'm trying to avoid the glare here.
That one's titled Acceptance, and I very much kind of wanted to a lot of my work can be very alienating with my portraiture and my figure
Oh,
drawing.
you mean kind of like this one over here?
Absolutely, it totally can be. And I get that a lot, but that's
I
what
mean, we all have different feelings about that personally, but yeah,
yeah, but
there's some
that's what
there's some tough stuff here.
it is, and that's what resonates with me. I find that having sometimes more alienating portraiture is a way where pieces can feel more empowering. That kind of sense of alienation, to me, kind of creates conflict, and then that conflict makes makes the figure ultimately more empowering in a lot of ways. And I think that goes for most of the pieces in this show. So there's kind of this controlled chaos in the background of this piece, and I wanted the figure to kind of embody that acceptance, but for there to kind of be that sense of self that I tried to capture in the figure. I wanted the background to look like that glitch art that I was creating for reference, kind of chaotic, bleeding into the figure. A lot of times the ink goes and you see the bleeds going into the skin, and I wanted to have kind of just enough of
Like
that.
down here.
Right. So
Okay.
there's those white lines that kind of define the figure, but the figure is outside of that, and the background is seeping and bleeding in. So I see that kind of acceptance being communicated as a more powerful idea because it's coming out of such a controlled chaos.
Mm-hmm. So as we spin around the gallery over here, I have as the sun sets in the gallery, it's getting darker in here and I'll have to flip the lights on. But as I flip the camera around, I see a similar gesture and facial expression, especially in the centerpiece. Hold on to yourself. And as I
Mm-hmm.
literally shed some more light on this, um, the figure is looking out. They're not necessarily looking directly at the camera. This one's giving you the side eye over here.
Mm-hmm.
And then this one's giving you the multiple eyes over here. Will you tell us a little bit, and we've got this one where it's looking in two directions. Can you talk a little bit about the places that your figures are looking at? Have you thought about that? Why are they not looking directly at the viewer?
Well, some are and some aren't, and that's always a hard decision for me because kind of breaking that wall and having them stare straight at the viewer is a completely different dynamic than them
Mm.
looking off to the side. And then sometimes when there's that double exposure, it's an opportunity to kind of do both at once. And I love kind of capturing that dynamic of either a glance staring right at the viewer and the viewer kind of staring at a depiction of a figure that's looking off, a completely different direction with, the head in the clouds kind of thing too. But, having that double exposure is kind of a way to capture the exact moment someone looks at the viewer and also the moment before too.
I see. So wait, you're saying the moment before and when they're actually looking at the viewer, which makes me think about time. Is that a portion? Is that a part of this too?
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of the glitch process, a lot of those processes that can be run on the images when I'm just playing with them and to figure out what I'm getting. I wanted to take photos where there was a few second delay, so I'm not taking the same photo and juxtaposing it and kind of having the software program put it on top of itself, but I'm taking, a picture that might be a few seconds off. So you're getting a glance, but you're also getting the moments before and after the glance too, in a lot of cases.
Thank you for sharing that. I'm going to continue to sort of spin around here. We've got some of your wonderful prints, and I actually really like this one. Um, it feels wistful to me, and I don't know if there's anything else I have to say about it except that the expression on the subject's face is just a combination of sort of, it could be contentment, it could be resignation, it could be a lot of different things. And I find that very fascinating. I mean, the emotions that you have in a wide variety of these poses are just really, really striking. And now, speaking of, let's talk about your self-portrait here.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got Richard's face here, doubled. This one is dated March 21st. Can you tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about that date and what its significance is?
Sure. I try to do about a self-portrait every month because that's kind of a good way for me to kind of check in with myself. And a lot of times I don't sell them or show them, but it's a good practice for me, especially as I'm working with models who've given me permission to use their likeness. I've been trying to explore the dynamic of modeling for other people and also modeling for myself, and it can be intensely personal, having myself be the subject of my own portraiture. So that self-portrait process is something that's like very special to me and something that I kind of try to do on a relative basis. I'm drawn to portraiture because I have such an affinity when I'm drawing a model, whether it's a friend, a celebrity or someone that I look up to, or a complete stranger on the internet that's given me permission to use their pictures for reference. Like I have, it's, it's this big sense of community and it's this very special relationship, and it's a big responsibility too to create art based on someone's likeness. So it's important for me to allow others to use my likeness and work on myself as well. So it's
Well, it's very clear to me from the outside that a lot of that comes from your broadcast journal experience where you're interviewing people. And I find it very fitting that you have transferred your interest in people from the broadcast journalism side into their physical depiction. You were creating a representation of people before, and you're continuing to do that.
Yeah,
Is
thank you. That's exactly how I see it. I'm so much more comfortable bragging on other people and talking about other people's work. And, that was my focus in journalism, is to shine a light on the work that other people are doing. And I'm having to get more comfortable talking about myself and articulating my work now. And at the same time, being able to have a figure almost puts us in that together. It provides a little separation. But when I do a self-portrait, there's no separation. It's my likeness, and that makes me feel very vulnerable, and that's something that's important, I think, for artists to feel and work through.
So the date on your self-portrait is March 21st, but the date itself is just the date of the self-portrait.
The date
It's the
that I
date
think.
of the self-portrait.
But at the same time, I would hope that the self-portrait I do every month, if it's something that I show, if I do show people or if I just keep it for myself, I hope it's kind of a representation of the work that I've been doing around it in that period of my life.
So I'd like to take a brief pause and detour into our local food feature. I don't know if you enjoy vegan food. Are you a
Absolutely.
fan? Okay.
I'm going to be real jealous for this one disadvantage of us doing it from apart, as I can't.
I know. But next time you swing by Johnson City, Franny's Vegan Cafe is open for lunch. They're further up North Roan Street than the main downtown area in Johnson City. So they're kind of closer to, I don't know if you guys know the elementary school up there, past a lot of the main drag and up into Gray, almost like sort of Gray Station Road and up there. But I had the chance to say hello to Jen earlier today and grab some lunch, and she had the chance to tell me that their special right now that everyone is raving about is the lobster roll, which there's not actually lobster in it because it's a vegan cafe. But I mean, I'm from Boston. I know what a lobster roll is supposed to taste like, and like, you can't go eating vegan food and being like, this is going to be lobster, right? But this was really darn good. So, I mean, like it's maybe not the same, but I'm fully on board as somebody who regularly eats vegan and hails from the land of lobster, at least one of the lands of lobster.
Yeah.
But tonight I actually have the walnut wrap and some desserts because she has desserts out the wazoo up there, and she loaded me up with a bunch, and my kids have already decided who's going to get what. So we have like a chocolate cupcake over here with some ganache in there, and then there's a variant in there that is like mystery chocolate, and then there's this strawberry cake, which I gotta say, if you're baking vegan, like, what the heck? How do you get your cake to be a cake? I can't do that. That's amazing. And then the walnut wrap, which has cowboy beans and pasta salad. And this tortilla is actually really amazing in here. I know this is just one of the many takeout things. The lobster wrap was like super pretty. And this is my dinner. So I'm eating Bernie's Vegan Cafe for lunch and dinner. And she's open from about 11 to 5 every day. So it's definitely like a daytime eating thing if you're in the area and you need something really quick. She's there. And she also does smoothies too. So she just started doing that. And this weekend, they actually have like a local vendor event. So if there's artists and candle makers and potters all gathering in the parking lot up there this weekend on Saturday. And she's hoping to do another one sometime in May. So if you yourself or anyone else is interested in vending, it's right there on the main Dragon Roan Street, so you can see everything from the road. So there's going to be some amazing stuff going on this weekend there. And I hope that folks who are watching can stop by or at least tell their friends and go get some delicious food and do some shopping with some local makers this coming Saturday.
Very cool.
Yeah, so shout out to Franny's. But real quick, are there any folks that you would like to thank for this evening or this food, or like influences that you want to talk about? I just looked at my watch and I'm like, oh my gosh, our time has flown.
I know, it always happens whenever we talk, and I think that's a good problem ultimately to have. A few, and really all of the artists in this community, and yourself included, Jocelyn. I am so excited to be a part of the group of artists that show here, and I look up to people like yourself that help build capacity in the arts. And for artists, Summer Apostle has helped me at every step of the way, and I'm very grateful to have her as a
Yay, Summer!
partner, and to deal with all my stress, and to really help me make the decisions to have this show together.
So real quick, if anybody wants to ask Richard a question, I should have said this before, you can pop it in the chat. And I want to thank all the people who have showed up, and there's Anna, and there's Ren, and there's
Oh,
Jill, and I'm just scrolling through here. I see some familiar faces. I saw Marcy there. So if you guys have any questions, I'm going to take
oh,
one quick tour around the gallery so that people can see all the work. Everything's up at eatarts.space/purchase. And all of these are originals, and so many of them are ready to hang. Richard has made this so easy for you guys to take home. And so therefore you really should. There's a beautiful original painting down here. He gave me a ton of work, and it's great because it makes the gallery feel super full and luscious. And we have sizes range from 8 by 10 up there to 16 by 20 underneath. So if you have a tiny space, you can take home something tiny. You know, we've got some tiny things, and we've got some bigger things, and stuff that is flat and you can frame how you like. I love this one. We didn't get to talk about this one either. This is a gorgeous portrait down here. And the one all over the show card as well. Is there something that you'd like to say about that portrait? You opened your mouth there for a minute.
oh yeah, sure. About any of them really. That was, one of the moments. That I called that one Esther, and that was based off a song lyric I really liked that said the lives we want to live are free from pain and fear. And that was one that I felt really kind of captured this empowered feeling of kind of looking through conflict at the viewer. And it was a gorgeous reference photo from a model that was really gracious to let me use their likeness. But I was really happy with that one, and that kind of captured that feeling of the lives we want to live are free from pain and fear, which has been kind of a mantra for me.
Yes. Yes, and one more tour around these paintings were up at the Reese Museum, and I was so happy to have them there in that exhibit. And then back here, I've got a couple more pieces down on the chairs. This lovely original here with more glitch-inspired art, and then more about internal emotions, and this is self-care, correct?
Yes.
So this is it. Everything is up here and around. Do you have anyone else that you want to shout out to, or?
Sabrina Lamb helped me with a whole bunch, especially of the ones behind you. So I want to give a
Okay.
shout out to her because she helped me in my process. I use a lot of wet media because I like the opacity and it helps me communicate the feeling of looking through people. And Sabrina helps me with all kinds of things, but helped me with this series to kind of take that opacity and think in texture instead of piling on layers, opaque layers where you can see through, is to kind of do that in ways to create textures. That was very much inspired from her, and I want to thank my Defined Bodies figure drawing group, which has
Oh,
been
I saw them stop by
oh
in,
cool, good.
in the
That's
comments, and
been a source of encouragement a whole lot lately.
oh my gosh. Okay,
All the other
let's read some of these comments before we go and sign off. Somebody says, "You both are such gifts." Thank you, Anna.
um,
And forgive me if I pronounce anybody's username wrong, but something or other says, "So proud of you, Richard. Thank you for sharing your beautiful self and work." Tennessee Geek Art Brandon says, "Proud of you, Richard. Amazing person, amazing work. Yay. Giant love fest." Guys, share Richard's work. Share the link to purchase his work so that people can take it home. I will happily ship it to anybody, and you can also do local pickup. eatart.space/purchase through next week. And if you're not done talking to Richard or listening to my voice, you can hop onto Facebook in just a few minutes, and he'll be in the comments to answer questions. So, and with that, I'm going to save this video. And I'm going to say thank you so much, Richard, for being here and for giving of your time and your work. It's such an honor to have the whole room surrounded.
thank you so much. It's been a huge privilege for me, Jocelyn. I can't.
Oh, and someone just bought a piece. T. Stanley, thank you.
Oh,
Oh my gosh.
you.
I have work
Thanks
to
for help.
do. I need to go pack this thing up, right?
Yeah, good deal. Well, we're meeting over at Facebook, and
We're meeting over at Facebook Live. Richard will be in the comments, tappity tap tap tap, and I will be chit chatting and showing more of Franny's Vegan Cafe. So I'll
Fantastic.
catch you all later. Bye for now and have a great evening, Instagram.